to start doing the paperwork on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we're going to move it forward to the council, Matt.
Okay.
I don't know whether it'll be this, it won't be tonight, I don't think. Committee of the whole, okay. I should have said committee of the whole. Pam, did you get all of that? And is there any, I should have asked, is there any questions from the two councilors on the line, even though you're not part of the committee? Councilor Paulson, did you have any question?
No, thanks so much, though.
Okay, Councilor Beyondich, any questions?
Thank you. I'm just listening in.
Okay. I appreciate it, and I will not forget you the next time around on some of these issues if you want to. And if you want to punch in, just say something, okay? All right. Let's move on then to the review of the City of Virginia snow plowing and ice control policy. I believe everybody got a copy of the actual policy for snow plowing and ice control. It's fairly well-written, I believe. Are there any areas that anybody feels need to be changed in the policy? I know, Councilor Johnson, you wanted this brought up, so we added it to the agenda. So if you would like to start.
Thanks. That we hear. This isn't about the staff. You guys and gals do an amazing job, first of all. I mean, it really is. I can't imagine trying to manage it. My frustration comes when we get questions about what's going on as counselors and we don't have the ability to say, well, today it's an even day. They started on north side and they're working south side, or they started at Chestnut Street and they're working out. They also, the way it's written, Britt, do we have a street superintendent?
Not anymore. No.
Okay, so it's stuff like that. The frustration of citizens who park on the proper side of the street and there's a 1.5 foot ice berm in front of them, and the other side of the street there's nothing. So there's just some things as I observe and watch, wonder if we could do differently. One of the things that you do on Chestnut Street is you plow to the center of the street and it's picked up the next day. And I'm wondering why we can't do that on all the major streets, 8th Street, 2nd Avenue, 9th Avenue, that kind of thing. Because I was really frustrated after the first major snowstorm of the year a couple weeks ago. I went out and I shoveled my 8th Street sidewalk down to the sidewalk like I was supposed to, and and I had to chisel, and it sat there for a week until the little snowplow came by. Taken care of within 12 hours. I did mine in the first 2. And yet, I had to go back out and do it because the ice berm. My understanding, that was part of the reason the main streets have the no grass boulevard, is so we could drop a blade and push the snow back further. And so those are the questions I have, that why aren't we doing those kinds of things to help the citizens? To me, it's about customer service and doing just a couple of extra little things to help our citizens understand that we're working for them. On Chestnut Street, having a berm of snow for 24 hours is really tough. And I get that you all start early in the morning and you do your best. But what I'm asking is that someone take one of the small plow trucks and cut a couple of crosses in the middle, and so that people can park on one side and walk across the street to the other side. It would take, I can't imagine it taking a whole lot of effort to just make a 3 foot wide path even halfway down the block. Those are the kinds of things that I think that we as a city could do to demonstrate that we do care about our businesses. You know, one of my frustrations, and we'll see how this plays out now that there's no steam on south side. Where's the snow gonna go? I know everybody in my alley relies on steam to melt the snow. They shovel in front of their garage and they throw it in the middle of the alley and it melts. That's not gonna happen anymore. So I think we're really gonna have a challenge with where are we putting snow and what does that look like moving forward. And So the ordinance 7.05, ice and snow on public sidewalks, and our policy don't really match either because of what it says. And I would be curious to know when the last time we cited somebody and charged them for snow removal for a sidewalk. Do you know that, Britt, at all? So if we're gonna do that, we need to do that to help you all. If we're not, then why do we have it? And this is just part of a discussion. And my final thought is that we should have a snow management policy, not a plowing, because it's a snow plowing and ice control policy and an ice and snow on public sidewalks. So if we had a snow management policy, that means that we're actively working to figure out what to do with snow as we move forward. I would like to see a place where anybody can go on the website and say, okay, it's Tuesday, what is it today, the 24th. If we had a major snowfall last night, they can go there and see, okay, our priorities are 2nd Avenue, 8th Street, the main arteries, which I know is a priority, and then where you're gonna go from there, how you're going to be plowing the streets so we can know. One of the things that in our current policy doesn't say that alleys are a priority. And I know that you all work hard to get those alleys at least once through in the entire city so people can get out of their garages. That should be in here so people know that that's how you're working. You're working to get the alleys cleared so we can all go to work. Another concern I've had, and again, this is just up for discussion, is maybe prioritizing around the high school. Right now, obviously, it's not going to be a problem because there's no school. But in January, when school comes back, it's really frustrating and hard when there's heavy equipment around the high school at 8 o'clock. If there's a way we could know that between 7:30 and 8:30, either it's all done already as a priority, or we've got it clean enough so that the cars can drop off, and there are, I would guess, thousands of cars dropping off at the schools right now because of the way they've designed it to make that a little bit easier and convenient. My last point is, and this is a personal frustration that has been shared with me by several people. On Veterans Day, we had a snowstorm the day before. It snowed heavily. City Hall did not get shoveled out at all. The police department had to walk over 1.5 foot ice berm in the alley, but the library, which was closed for the day, was completely shoveled out. And so I'd like to see us prioritize. I cannot even imagine trying to shovel at all. They do their best, but the main stairway they use and that side, I can't imagine trying to shovel with all the equipment they're wearing, their vests and their guns and everything else. It's hard enough, honestly, for them to get in and out of a car. So I'd like to see a plan so that the next time there's a snow event like that on a holiday or on the weekend, that door, the west door and the back door are shoveled for them so that it's taken care of. Because they are, I know the fire department does their own, and if there needs to be just some discussion that we need their help up here, then let's have those discussions. But I'd like to see things so that we know what's gonna happen, that there's no question who's doing what and where it's gonna be taken care of. So those are my concerns. Other than it being a very old policy with some antiquated language in it. And I'd like to see everything tied together so that we have the ability to, as a counselor, to answer questions when we get called about what's happening and where. Thank you.
Okay. Steve, thanks for your input. Mr. Hennis, I would like you to just go through a simple synopsis of what the priorities are and what we've done. I know normally, if I'm correct, we always start, if it's a business type snowstorm, we start with Chestnut Street to clear that so the businesses, when there's no cars, are free to plow and everything. And then we do some of the parking lots, et cetera. So if you can just give us a quick synopsis of actually priorities, emergency routes, all that kind of stuff, I'd appreciate it.
Sure thing, Council Baraboo. Public Works have been doing pretty much our snow removal here for quite some time the same way. It seems to work good. We send out on various snows depending on the heavy and the severity, windage, and all those good things. But normally our day starts at 3 o'clock in the morning, where we send out one grader and the sidewalk plow down on Main Street, start pulling that right away. 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, the rest of our reserves come out. At that time, the graders start chasing around on our priority routes all the way around town. We link them in tandem, so basically one swath where we can to go around the loops. At the same time, I believe we send out 5 truck plows going through the various additions through town to start on that, and one sander going around, and then one truck up in Midway, where he plows and sands that whole route. Alleys, we have 4 pickup truck plows that go out. 2 start at Chestnut, work their way south. 2 start at Chestnut, work their way north. So it's pretty much all done. So at 4 o'clock when the blower comes out, it usually cleans up through the shop just to get started, to get us out the door. And then we move down to around the school and then right to Chestnut. Chestnut's our first area besides the school that normally gets done. We work in conjunction with the school and their staff to make sure they can get everything out to the street to us. And then when Dorian has time, he goes around and gets that all windrowed to the middle so we can do them. In the meantime, we have 2 loaders that push from First Street North or First Street South on all the avenues. They bring everything to Chestnut so we can put that in the snow blower pile and take that when we do Chestnut, and then they go to parking lots.
So basically, Bill, the priority is to get Chestnut Street done the same day that we plow, correct? Unless
Normally,
something breaks down.
If we don't have breakdowns or a staff shortage, normally we pull Chestnut on the same day.
We also go down, the avenues a certain distance in Windrow also, a couple blocks north and south, isn't that?
Up and around the school.
Okay. So,
But in the meantime, like I said, the graders are chasing around town doing all of our major routes. And then when they're done, they go into the additions and start doing those.
how many graders do we have out?
3.
3, that's what I
3
thought.
total.
I know they hit, usually where I live down by Target, they hit me with the grader probably 10:30, and they come through approximately the same time in the alley. But I'm way down on the south end of town also. But they do a good job when they come through the street, because normally we don't have any cars on the street I'm on.
You know, and a lot depends on our operations too, the severity of the snow too. I mean, some days we can whistle right through there and make it with 1 pass. Sometimes it takes 2. Wet slushy snow, we may have to go by 2 or 3 times just to scrape it down too. So, I mean, the veteran snows that we had, there was that wet sloppy stuff where it turned ice. So, you know, we had to scrape occasionally because we couldn't get it all the first time. So, I mean, a lot depends on the snow conditions and time of year and all that. So, I mean, it's not a set on what we can do per day. Mother Nature really makes that dependent on what we can accomplish in a day.
Okay. With that, Britt, any more comment from your end on this at this point in time? I know we went to the windrowing here, how many years ago, Bill? Quite a number to the windrowing. We never used to do that to begin with.
Well, and that came with technology, Charlie. When we started here, when I first started, we had an old Oshkosh snowblower. I mean, it never ran. And then we went to a Snow-Go. I mean, that really helped. That went on the front end loader. But now this new piece of equipment we got, it's night and day difference. I mean, we can march pretty quick with it as long as everything lines up. I mean, again, it comes out to manpower. I mean, we have 4 tandem dump trucks we like to send with them at a minimum all the time. I mean, sometimes we just don't have the staff always available to do that right away because everybody has their assignments.
And I saw that they worked on where they dump snow. They pushed all of it to a far end now, especially down by the ball fields, so they can make easier dumping throughout the season as we get snow.
Well, our intent is to get the snow off them so we can get the frost in the ground, so
Yeah.
we can utilize the full extent of those snow dumps.
Okay, I didn't realize that's what you were doing, but that's good thoughts. You don't dig holes down there with the heavy equipment.
Well, otherwise the dump trucks are stuck all the
Yeah,
time. We spend
yeah.
more time pulling out than we do hauling.
Okay, with that explanation, Carl, you have any further questions on what they're doing? We need to probably look at maybe some revision between staff and Public Works on some of the policies and stuff, but that's something we'll have to look at for future and make some adjustments, but that's to go down the road. Carl?
Thank you. I think that they've done an excellent job over the years. I mean, like you said, 4 o'clock, they're plowing on Main Street. I think the problem came when the snow stayed overnight in the middle. I don't know what happened there, but a misunderstanding. But forever, that the guys did it in the morning, the next morning it was gone. So I don't think we've got a problem with this.
Well, that particular snow hit on a holiday for the city also.
Say, remember that Veterans Day was a holiday?
And we're
I
paying
mean, they were
overtime.
out 8 hours on overtime to start with. I mean, if we would have pulled Main Street, it would have been another 4 to 6 hours to pull that. Again, cost does come into some of that, and we pulled it the first thing the next morning, so.
And that was one of the issues when snow falls on a holiday, you have limited crews that go out, and sometimes we send the whole crew depending on the amount of snow that there is. And we pay for it in the future, and we carry our budget over from basically from year to year, so we don't short our budget for snow plowing. We've done that for years, and that seems to work out good. Britt, are you willing to work with staff on taking a look at the policy with Public Works? And our Park Department is a big part of this too, because they're the ones that plow the alleys with the equipment. And they do a good job. If they have to go through twice, they go through twice.
Charlie, currently, we plow with all city staff, not the park. The park doesn't participate in our normal routes anymore.
Oh, they don't? Okay, okay.
We bring them out in emergencies, but on a
I
normal,
just assume because they're using the park trucks, are they
we're not using park trucks anymore
They're
either.
not, okay.
No,
Then
we
I stand
have
corrected.
4 pickup trucks, sewer crew of 1 ton, and then we have 2 other trucks that we put our personnel on.
Okay, why aren't we using the Park Department anymore? Is that
Again,
that was
we have, right now, we have the staff to do it, and they have their items that they need to take care of. So again, if it's an emergency, we call everybody out, but I mean, a true emergency, but on a day-to-day snow, we take care of it with our staff.
So do we call them out if we have a shortage of staff? That's, because that's
If
an
we have
issue.
to, yes.
Okay, okay.
And normally, the park staff's doing the miners' parking lot, the Alcott Park, the trails, they are out there.
Okay. Okay, that answers part of the question, limited equipment that we don't have enough of. Okay. Because I know we've gone to the bigger 10-ton trucks. Yeah, and that's the priority we're going to continue on, but we have few of the older ones left too that are smaller. It takes longer. Okay, that answers that question. Counselor Johnson, do you have any more questions? Okay. Counselor Paulson, do you have any other questions to ask of Mr. Hennis or to start taking a look and maybe looking at the policy a little bit more for the future?
Thank you, Councilor Gerbil. I think I would echo Councilor Johnson's sentiment. And when I was reading over the priorities and schedules and how they're prioritized, would it be possible maybe to put like a map together with like highlight in one color emergency route, in terms of the priority, and then colorize it and then put it up on our website so people can understand that we do have a plan and here's the priorities and here's what people can expect on the map, weather permitting, Mother Nature permitting, but just so that people understand, excuse me, that we do have an overall plan. And my alley is plowed right away. I mean, it's wonderful. I think the frustration, and now there's no school, but when we're going north on 5th to cross 8th, during school hours, sometimes that's being worked on, maybe like at 7:45 in the morning. So it's hard to get across that intersection. Sometimes you have to kind of jaunt around. And then, Chestnut Street, I understand, was a holiday. But if that berm could be cleared by the time business is open the following day, which it normally is, but I think it didn't get cleared till around noon or 1. People were still parallel parking in front of our store. So, I understand things happen and you can't control it all, but I think if we could put a map up, if that's a possibility, that might be really helpful.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Councilor Bionis, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Johnson, do you have some more comments?
Yes, thank you. So, Cody. So you all are taking this as criticism, and I really need you to understand it's not. I understand how hard you all work. I understand that getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning is not a fun thing to do, and I appreciate you do that. I'm trying to figure out how do we better communicate with the citizens of Virginia about what you're doing. Most people wake up in the morning and magically there's no snow on the street. And that magic doesn't happen. It's you all working very hard. And I'm trying to help us be able to communicate to our citizens of how hard you work. And yes, there is a plan. Bill, what you shared about this is what we do first, and say, that's what I'm looking for in writing. That's what I want to be able to refer people to. Because the other part about this is long-term planning, knowing that if something happens to any one of us, we're in the middle of a pandemic, any one of you could not be working for the next 2 weeks. And we need to be able to pull somebody who has the ability to operate heavy equipment and put them in your seat and say, this is what you're gonna do. And I understand that an hour route on the grader may take 3 hours if we have to replace somebody, but that's the kind of stuff that I want to be able to say to our citizens that we have ready to go. That we know that our streets will be plowed no matter what, that we do have a plan in place. And when someone says, well, how come that berm sat for an extra day? That's when we need to know that you only have 3 people working and it's gonna be there, because then we can communicate to the rest of the people, hey, we can put it on our Facebook page, we can put it on public access, we can put it somewhere that due to staffing issues because of whatever, it's going to be a little bit longer. That's all our citizens are looking for from all of our departments, whether it's us sitting here at City Hall, the public utilities, the police department, they're just looking for communication. And that's all we're asking from you, is that when it's gonna be a while, let us know so that we can let other people know. And then we do have priorities. I do wanna know that City Hall on a holiday for the police department is a priority for the city to get cleaned up so that they can do their jobs. And we're not asking for snow blowing and down to the street. There was a 1.5 foot ice berm in front of the back door. And and in my world, and I don't know plowing, I'm not a plowing expert, I would never pretend to be one. In my world, it would make sense that when whoever comes up that alley slows down a little bit and just pushes everything to the other side during the plowing, and then it gets cleaned up later. Well, but do you understand my premise? That we're doing what we can to City Hall specifically, to provide because when they take off out of here some nights, they're taking off. You know, if it's your house and you're being broken in and you hear somebody while you're looking for whatever it is you're gonna do to protect yourself, you wanna know that they're on their way. And quite honestly, dispatch can be a challenge sometimes. So when you make a phone call at midnight, they might not get dispatched till 5 after 12. And now they've got 5 or 6 minutes coming to you. There's the time that they have to spend navigating steps or coming out the back door, that could be the difference between life and death, and that's the kind of stuff I'm looking at. And they know that you're not gonna come out when it snows an inch and scrape the alley. The police department gets that. But on an event like it was, there should be a plan for a holiday and a weekend. If that means somebody in a truck has to come down to City Hall and shovel for 10 minutes, then that's what it should be. We need to make sure that our police and our fire departments have access to provide the safety. But going back to just the communication of it, I want to be able to say to people, here's the link to our snow management plan. And then it can be tweaked after that. You've been doing it forever, but that doesn't mean it can't be better or different at all. Really is something that we always should be looking to make improvements and to better our customer service. And that's where I'm at when it comes to how we move forward with the policy and the ordinance about sidewalk shoveling. Thank you.
Scott, did you have a comment that you'd like to make? Mr. Scott Duranko.
Good morning, everybody. I have some answers, I guess, to some of your questions that you're talking about. For instance, the Main Street. I mean, I can guess in the 6 years that I've only been here, we've only left snow in the center of the Main Street maybe, 2-3 times? And it's usually the same businesses that aren't happy about it. And for us to come in there and throw a walkway in the middle of it, we have no problem with that, but isn't there a law or an ordinance that you have to use a crosswalk?
Yes, there is.
Okay, that's the one thing I'm wondering about. Does that become a liability to the city? If we put one in the center and now we got people funneling into this little area that you're walking through, I understand exactly what you're saying and what the public, but crosswalks are still to be used because, I mean, under theory, you're not supposed to cross the street in the center during the summertime. Okay, that's one of the questions. And going back to your sidewalk, we plow, I'm on the grader, we run the main routes. The main routes are your 2nd Avenue, your 8th Street, your 12th Avenue, all of them are your main routes. And they're there for a reason, for the fire trucks, for the ambulance, for the police, and everybody else. Now, when we spin off and we do go amongst our stuff now, the following day at your particular site, if I remember right on that side, wasn't parking on your side of the street that day? If I'm not mistaken? See, if I'm not mistaken, it was. So what happens then is there's cars parked in front of your house, or there's a car parked 3 cars down with a blade. We got 12 foot of blade, we got another 10 feet of wing. So I'm coming down, I'm not gonna take a chance and hit that car to, you know what I mean, to go into your curb line. So what ends up happening the following day is Bill sends out, like I believe last time, he sent out 4 trucks to do opposites. Okay, so we come down, and if everybody's parking correctly, we come down, we plow what we can plow up to the curb line because we have to make room. Then the following day, which might have happened with you if there was cars on the side of your street, they'd come down with the plow trucks, no, not the graders usually, the plow trucks, and they plow up to the curb line. So in return, the snow ends up going back onto the sidewalk. I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, I do. I don't like to remove snow just like anybody else. But that's usually what ends up happening. When I'm coming down, for instance, the last time I'm coming down a grader and I'm trying to do the curb line over in the Lency edition, and I have a lady coming out and standing on the curb line because she's mad because I'm going to plow her street. So now I have to go away 2 to 3 feet because I don't want to take a chance of hitting her, and now that person's complaining because we didn't plow up to the curb line. See, this is what we run into too. When we're plowing snow, people hate us, but yet they love us when the street's plowed. You know what I mean? So where do we go with it? And going back to another thing that you're talking about, bringing the avenues or the streets to the center, there's not enough room. Main Street, when we do Main Street, there's enough room for the blower and barely for that truck. Sometimes we have to go into businesses to ask people to politely move their vehicles so we can get by. Now, if we do streets and there's a car parked there, there's no way by pulling it to the center that we'd be able to get by with the blower. So in return, what we do on the bad avenue is Dorian comes in and he pulls everything, you've seen it, pull everything from the main roads to the center, and we plow everything. And getting back to the school is another one. we do prioritize. When I'm on the sander, we make sure we go around the school, we sand everything. That way, we do City Hall parking lot because we don't want anybody to get hurt. But in return, the school has their own plow trucks, they have their own loaders, they have everything to maintain. So they maintain their sidewalks, and we maintain the streets, and we work with them to push the street, the snow to the corners. You know, and the alleys is another one. These guys come down with these plow trucks, they plow to the sides, and what does everybody do? They throw the snow to the center. So now we got cars stuck in the center, and we just plowed it. So now in the spring, twice last year, because of the steam, we had to go with loaders and chisel that snow off the thing, and that is really, really difficult to do. Now, that's the thing is the public has to understand also that we are doing exactly what we need to do. We care about what we do. We take pride in it. We always have. But, you know, that's the thing is I've been confronted by people, it's like, why didn't I get plowed out until 10:30? I don't know. I mean, we're doing all the main routes, we're doing this, we have to get, the alley plows start at Main Street and they work their way out, doing all the streets. And like you're talking about the fire department, we can definitely send a loader in there and come in there and sweep that out and push it out to the avenue and then bring it back down. I mean, that's definitely something we can do. We've actually been starting to do that last year with the loaders, pushing the alleys out on Main Street so that they can get in there with their supply trucks and everything else. You know, so I just hope that helps a little bit. You know, I mean, I know what you're saying, I do, and I understand what the city's doing too, but to change something right now that works, we have a hard time dealing with that right now because we got a pattern and it seems to work really well, and we're not going to please everybody. You know, we're really not, but we definitely try to. I mean, if we're driving down the street and I see somebody really struggling, for instance, with something, I'll swing in with the loader, I'll back drag it, I'll swipe it out, they give you a thumbs up, and now you're a good guy. But the next guy's upset because he had to shovel it. You know, none of us like snow, so that's all I wanted to say, Steve. You know what I mean?
And I appreciate that, and that's why I want to be able to communicate better with the public, that, you know,
Right.
this is why it's 10:30, it's because you're here, and it doesn't matter where they start, it's gonna be, you know, and I, you know, one of the things that happens is we get emails from citizens saying this is what happened, and we are the city council's not good at acknowledging that publicly, and that's something I'd like to see us start doing, is that when we get an email that someone got out of their truck and helped somebody shovel or walk somebody across the street or anything, one, we as a city need to encourage our citizens to report that, the good stuff, because it's so easy to find the bad stuff. We need to encourage all of you to report that to us and start building each other up and really make, you know, we work together, this is how we do it. And then we as a council need to be acknowledging that both publicly at our meetings and in notes and in letters to files, whatever. So this, this is one little piece of a bigger, how do we do better as a city? And I don't want everything changed. That's not what I'm looking at. Again, it's about the communication, and I would guess, excuse me, that some of your plow operators may have some good ideas about how this could be better. And maybe in the past, or maybe they're just not comfortable bringing that forward. And I also want to encourage that if it would make more sense to do something a little bit differently, or you'd like to try something different in a different spot, I think we need to empower you all to do that and move forward with that. So, and I'd like to see that as part of the policy, that, you know, this will be reviewed annually in the middle or whatever, so that you all can go, hey, this, you know, the school has always been a pain. Maybe we can, you know, I don't know, because I don't know your world at all. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I appreciate, you know, your honesty when you come to these meetings is very refreshing, that you're not afraid to tell us what's going on. And I truly appreciate that, because it helps me have a better understanding. I'd love to go for a plow ride truck, and I know that's not, right now, that just can't happen because of COVID. But, you know, those are the kinds of things that help me to understand better what your life is. That's why I know about the police. I've been here when there was a snowstorm on midnights and what it's like. So that's how I know what that's like for them. And so being able to have everybody communicate it is truly what my goal is. So thank you very much. And I see Dorian has his fingers up.
Dorian, come up to the mic. Would you mind doing that?
Some other underlying issues. that we deal with too. One, everybody's got a four-wheeler with a plow on it now, okay? You hang on a plow on a piece of equipment, they turn into absolute idiots, okay? So we're dealing with people like that. Contractors, they just push snow and leave snow wherever the hell they want to. You know, Bill catches, Ed was good at it too, and they catch them. I mean, we just had someone plow across A Street onto the ball field right up against the fence. You know, this is some of the stuff that we deal with. As far as the school, I've been doing the school and I've worked with those guys for the last 25 years. There's sometimes when I can get there, there's sometimes when I can't get there, but if I can't get there, they know I'm not gonna be there, so they take care of it themselves. Otherwise, I'll do it for them. And as a group down there, we have snowplow meetings every year before we start. And if something comes up, someone has a better idea of doing something, we try it, and if it works, we go with it. So we're evolving every year. So the contractor is a big thing. Residents with four-wheelers with plows is a huge issue. Traffic, when people see us removing snow, instead of take an alternate route. There's 70 miles of road in this town, but they gotta come down this one, you know? So that holds things up. Yeah, so this is the stuff that we deal with, but we do our best with what we have.
And I think that's key to, as we look at this policy for snow management, we put some of those specific things in here, and then we follow through with it, that if it's, you know, if there's a repeat contractor that's dumping snow on city property without permission or across, then let's make sure we have the ability to cite them, give them a warning, and then make it a prohibitive fine. I mean, if that's what we need to do to help you so that they, you know, I can't tell you the number of times you're driving down the street and you can see a private person plowing snow across the alley to somebody else's property, and or going down the street and there's a berm because a contractor was in a hurry and didn't take the time to tidy up the leftovers. And then people call us because they assume it's you doing that, and now they have a car issue and there's a dent somewhere underneath or whatever is going on. So I appreciate this conversation. I think we have a really good start to direct staff to really look at the snow management policy and look at how we create some enforceable stuff so that you don't have to deal with that. Or if there are, you know, if we need to figure out a way to help when you're doing Main Street to really communicate. One of the things I know we talk about a lot, but it's not said anywhere, is don't pile the snow around the trees and the poles. That makes it hard for you to clean up. Pile those, we do it at the library, we pile everything around the poles. Well, let's just make a pile in the middle of the poles, and that's gonna save, I can't imagine how much time that would save if everybody made piles instead of around posts. And logic says put it around the pole because it's out of the way. But if we could create a marketing, you know, no snow by the pole, or, you know, those quick, cute things that we could really enforce with our downtown folks, that could help save a ton of time on your part. And I think that's all part of what we need to be looking at as we move forward. So I feel heard now, and I appreciate all of your input, and thank you for coming in this morning. Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome. I have some kudos for you, gentlemen, and for the department. I live down on the south side, and you guys come through the alleys, but eventually, when you push your snow, I have a parking area for my vehicles that attach to the alley and go south. I live on the north side of 11th Street. And I have a fence in my backyard, and I've made it such that I can take 8 feet of it and pull it back in the wintertime, and I blow my snow into my yard at that point. But also, you guys come through, because it gets piled up almost to my eaves in the alley, because of certain areas when you come through, I have to blow the berms that way. I don't want to be blowing them all the way across the second time across my parking lot area that I have. You guys come through with the loaders once or twice a year, depending on the size of those things that get up against people's garages, and you do a very good job of taking them out with the loaders and stuff. So I really appreciate that in my situation. I have 2 cars that have to sit outside all winter. So I'm pulling stuff off and moving them to blow snow. But you guys are really good about taking care of the alleys. And I don't get hit with my alleys until 10:30, 11 o'clock sometimes in the morning because I'm way down on South Side by Target. So I'm on the end runs when you get there. But I don't mind because I get out the snowblower, and we as neighbors, I help my neighbors. And I go over across, especially I've got some elderly neighbors. And when they get plowed in, I go over with my snowblower and blow the big berms away for them. You know, and try to help your neighbors. That's another thing that has gotten lost in the community. People aren't helping their neighbors as much as they used to. And I've been around Virginia since 1976, so it's one of those things. But I think we can move this forward before Britt has to leave here at 10 o'clock. And if you don't have any more input, we'll take and put together, Britt, would you prefer a committee from both Public Works, the city, to start taking a look at what we have and maybe tweaking some of the policies a little bit with input from the departments, because we have to have input from the departments. This is not going to be an overnight process. It may not take effect until after the first of the year or later, when we get the big spring snowstorms. If we need... Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep, I get that in my own driveway coming off of my garage, where it blows off, because my garage faces west and the wind comes out of the northwest in the wintertime most of the time. But with that, Councillor Paulson, do you think this is a good idea? We'll put together a committee to start looking at this policy, including the Public Works departments, since they're the main snow plowing and our administrative people, and then we'll bring back some projected changes, and we'll send out an email to all councilors for their input also.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea, and I really appreciate all the discussion today. I think it's going to help us formulate just a better communication tool, and I truly do appreciate everybody's input. So thanks so much for all of that.
Councilor Beyondich, do you have any comments that you'd like to? Oh, she had to go. Okay. Carl, any further comments from you?
Yes. I'll say it once again. I think these, our snowplow guys are doing an excellent job. Charlie, you've been here forever.
Oh, yeah, I have. And we've changed policy a number of times over the years. I've been here now 26 years now, and we've changed policies many times, and it's gotten better as far as from my long-term stint on the council. It's gotten much better. We've bought better equipment, we've bought better trucks, we've bought better blowers, we've bought all kinds of things. The sidewalks are the last priority that we have, and that is not a requirement that we have to do. We do what we can with the sidewalk plows, but that's as we finish up from the storms, and we do what we can do with those. But it's not a priority. Yep. Yep, I know. I remember that. So with that, Councillor Johnson, any further comment? You've made some good comments. You've praised the group for what they do, and I appreciate the snowplowing. I don't get very many complaints at my house from snowplowing. I can tell you that once in a great while I get a call. Yeah. Yeah, and we may be lax at doing that. We may be.
I'll make a motion, Charlie, if
Okay,
appropriate.
please.
I'll move to authorize city administration to work with the departments to create a snow management policy that includes sidewalks, streets, and enforcement of rogue snow management.
Yeah, there are contractors that you're absolutely correct that do not do a job like they should. Second, Carl? Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further comment on that proposed? It'll probably start with the next committee of the whole meeting, correct? Okay. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor from the committee,
I,
say aye. Aye. Pam, I didn't, did you get that motion?
Yes, I did, Council Bearable.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, with that, I don't think we need to. We just need to keep everything open. We've worked well with all the unions on issues, and we want to continue to do so from my perspective. And this, you guys need to put input into this when we start this. We'll include whoever Bill, as department head, decides he wants to put on this, maybe a couple people on the committee, make sure it's, we meet, and if we have to cancel meetings because of snowstorms, we'll do that and reschedule. And Britt, you will follow through with your staff. Okay. With that, motion to adjourn. Okay, it's been moved to adjourn. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, gentlemen.